Welcome back, listeners. It's episode 28, and we're still here. It's Arts and Crimes, and I'm your host. This is Kelly.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Josh.
Nailed it. That was beautifully clean.
That was maybe our most serious intro ever.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, and we're all doing this voice now.
Hey.
Did I do that?
Am I doing it? Are you guys...
You're all doing it.
Absolutely.
Is it me?
Okay,
Did I start it?
Get the voice out of your throat, down into your diaphragm.
Yeah.
No, it lives in my throat now. I can't change it. This is who I have become. I've entered
AI.
my final podcast form. Call me Ira Glass.
I don't get the joke.
That's a podcast joke. I think he invented podcasting.
Welcome to this week's episode. It's early, and I think the caffeine is just starting to set in, so who knows what's going to happen today.
Excellent.
But yeah, we are going to talk about tattoos, and it's for sure multi-parts. I don't know how many parts because I haven't finished the research, so just Ashwini know that it's more than one part.
Sorry, Ashwini.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it is fine because every episode that this goes pushes back my Dark Crystal episode for more preparations, I guess.
Excellent. So by the time we get to it, it'll be a polished diamond of a dark crystal.
Oh my goodness.
Every episode is just going to raise my expectations.
Brandon's like, get to part 15 of tattoos.
Yeah, by the end I'll be like, this one's going to win a Pulitzer.
Yep.
Yeah, that glass man probably will like it.
Ira Glass.
Yeah.
He'll come down from his throne atop Podcast Mountain.
Yeah. But do tell before we get started, how was your week?
Who wants to go first?
You
go
Me?
first.
Dang it. All right. So these last couple weeks, I don't feel like I had anything terribly big happen. I didn't have an opportunity to say caramel or caramel.
You already said it wrong.
Maybe I meant to say it wrong the first time and then say it right the second time.
You struggled. I heard it.
I was like, which one's right? I couldn't remember.
All it's done so far is create an identity crisis. Am I British? Caramel. Skip to my loo.
So.
Try again.
Okay.
Ready and
Guys,
scene.
my week.
No, just
Amazeballs.
Okay, cut. Try again. Ready
All right.
and scene.
So probably what I've been doing out of the ordinary the most is playing the finals. Right? So I think you've touched on the finals a little bit.
Yep.
It's a free-to-play competitive shooter, but it has like some elements that make it more engaging to me than your regular like Call of Duty type shooter. I am so close to getting this beautiful blonde mullet that I'm gonna put on my.
You should have led with that.
In real life, you guys should look at it. It's really getting there.
Yeah.
So, I just randomly, I want to ask, are there any bands that are your favorite bands of all time that maybe released new albums in the recent?
Are you asking this question because one of my favorite bands did release something recently?
Did they?
I don't know, Josh.
Oh my gosh.
What?
We.
What's happening?
What band was it?
I don't know.
My carefully laid plans have come to
The best laid plans of mice and men oft go astray.
Off-gang ugly. Anyway, Chevelle released a new album.
Oh, really?
Oh my gosh.
What? Why is it upsetting that you're the one sharing this information with
He
me?
was so excited to talk to you about it.
Chevelle released a new album that has some very political themes.
Okay. Things that will go right over my head while I enjoy the rock. Good.
Probably. But I was going to be like, your own guys betraying you and being all political.
Maybe it's because...
literally... What?
I was going to say, like, maybe it's because it was so political that it didn't show up
The Chevelle was like, don't tell Brandon.
Yeah.
We don't want him
We know
disappointed.
he's our number one fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, talk to me, Josh, about Chevelle.
This is terrible. This is the worst trap I've ever laid.
Okay, is there a lot of political stuff to Rabbit Hole and Jim Jones?
Yeah.
Okay, well
And-
then let me have it.
But the thing is that, like, what's funny is it's political for Chevelle in that it's still easy to ignore, and most people will.
Mm-hmm.
But it's there, so
Man, Rabbit Hole is great. It's got what do they say? It's like really quiet. I wish I had listened to it more recently so I could remember it. It's like, don't let them know, or don't. Okay. Man, Chevelle's so good. Don't give him an inch. That's what it is. Like, there's a few times in there where he's. Anyway, we don't have to listen to it.
Don't give him an inch. He's talking about fascists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Don't give those fascists an inch.
Yeah.
Right?
And specifically the
Yeah,
fascists.
that's one we can easily all agree on.
Cool.
The worst.
Josh's whole week was built around that trap.
I literally yesterday was like looking up lyrics on Genius, and I was like, just make sure I'm understanding this right, so that I can spring it on Brandon and be like, look at that politics.
Yeah, you love politics, you big dope.
Secretly, those Chevelle people have indoctrinated you now.
The truth is, like, you could have sprung a similar trap years ago about Rage Against the Machine.
You were unaware of their political.
Even with the name?
What? Wait, what?
The Machine.
Okay.
In Rage Against the Machine.
So I did not know that the Machine in Rage Against the Machine was the government when I started listening to them.
Really?
Yeah, why would I?
What machine did you think it was?
Who cares?
A machine.
Like, Rage
The
Against
washing machine?
Like, maybe
Steals
it's
all
just
our
like
socks?
life wearing you down could be the machine.
Maybe they were
Anything,
really against the Industrial
right?
Revolution.
Listen, I have seen School of Rock, and I know that the man could be anyone who is
True.
putting you down. So I say the machine could be anyone.
Any machine.
Yes.
I feel like that's valid.
It
Okay.
doesn't have to be the government.
So, I was recently listening to some Rage.
Okay.
And also reading their Wikipedia page for some reason.
Nice.
Speaking of rabbit holes.
Yeah, speaking of rabbit holes. But Zach de la Rocha, I don't know how you say it. Spanish person, Mexican speaker.
How's it spelled?
Rocha.
I would say Rocha.
Rocha.
Oh, cool. I got it right.
Good job.
Rocha.
Anyway, Zach, my good buddy Zach.
Yeah.
Left the band, and it was like, in the reasons why he left the band, it was like he was sad that they weren't achieving their political aims. And I was like, I'm pointing at Brandon going, Exhibit A over here. No, but I don't remember
They
who.
took a poll of all the people that listened. You're like,
it's about government?
And then Zach was so sad, looking at that one comment. He went, I've wasted my life.
oh, man.
I don't know. I've thought of like this. This is just now a music review podcast, I guess.
Yeah.
But I've thought about that a lot. Like that Rage Against the Machine, like the rage in Rage Against the Machine, the anger doesn't actually accomplish meaningful change.
Right.
A lot of times, like I feel like for big things that it can be useful, like civil rights, right? But to try and get people in the Americas to care about the plight of people in a third world country that they're never going to visit, it's not going to be super effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of raging against machines, let me tell you about my week update.
I love that she's like, these two could just go on about this
Forever.
forever. I haven't even gotten to my stuff.
Oh, do
I thought your stuff was trying to...
Trap
Well,
me.
that was meant to be part of your stuff.
Okay, let's hear about
You
your
were going to
stuff.
be like, oh, there was a new Chevelle. And I was going to go, J'accuse! You're a political operative working for Chevelle. Anyway, my stuff. I experienced insomnia for the first time. Guess what? It's not fun. I don't recommend it. So I've always fallen asleep.
2 out of 10, not
Yeah,
great.
I'm gonna make this as quick as I can. I've always fallen asleep super easily. Like within 5 or 10 minutes, I'll be out.
It's amazing, actually.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I laid down and just couldn't. Like I just laid there. It was the only time in my life, and it felt like my body was betraying me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay. So the first night I was like, I don't know what to do. And I like got up and then laid down, went to the bathroom 900 times. And I finally like was so exhausted. I fell asleep at like 4:30 in the morning. So the second night I was like, just fall asleep. I wanted last night to be a one-time thing. And then I was like, but if not, I'm going to actually research it. So yeah, I didn't fall asleep. So then I was like, all right. So then I just researched insomnia all night. And I was like, here's some stuff I can try. And like, there's a version of CBT. The most effective insomnia cure is CBTI. It's called cognitive behavioral therapy specifically for insomnia. Anyway, and the next morning, yeah, again, I'd slept like 2 hours. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And Michaela's like, go to the doctor. And I was like, all right. And I've been on some medication. And one of the potential side effects is insomnia. So I went to my doctor. And she was like, yeah, let's get you on a different one. So the third night, I was prepared. She'd also given me some medication to help me sleep. But then I spent all my insomnia time researching potential side effects of all these medications she gave me. And I was like, this one is going to kill me. That's not worth a night's sleep. Anyway, so I fell asleep quicker, but like probably like 4 in the morning, right? It was, so I still only got 3 hours of sleep. And then last night I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I've been off the medication for a few days. And then I just fell right asleep and slept all through the night. And I was like, I've never been more happy to sleep. Like, so I had insomnia for 3 days. And I was like, now I understand why people go crazy from insomnia. It's so bad.
That makes sense.
Anyway, so that was my week. It was super fun.
So my week at school, we started a week and a half ago. We had students. So 2 weeks ago, we were back as teachers. And the AC is broken at school. So it was like 80 degrees in our classroom every day. It was so atrocious. And like, we have fans going and, you know, but when there's like 38 kids in your classroom, and ceramics is sort of like an active medium. So you're having to like walk around and wedge clay. It's like this whole thing. And I would like walk around my classroom. I could just like feel the sweat. And so my mantra for the last 2 weeks to myself, do you know that like race car driver where he's like, yes, this is real sweat. Do you know that one?
Yeah. Oh, you
where
said
he's
it to
like,
me.
yeah, I said it to Josh because I've said it so many times to myself where I'm like, I'm a high performance athlete, sweat, sweat baby, ki, rah, sweat, you know?
No. I mean, I was following along and then all of a sudden...
It took a left turn into the absurd.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been saying that to myself to make it through the last.
Yeah, have you been doing that?
Yeah, that's my favorite part.
Oh, okay.
I do not doubt that.
Yeah. So, and it's great, and it's a moment of laughter, and then I go back to being miserable. But yeah, we're back in school. But I like after the first couple days, it was like, I can't remember what day it is. I think it was last Friday. So it was like, we'd had 3 days with kids. And I got home and I was like so emotional because when school started, I was not ready for it to start. And I was like, what if I hate my job and I have to switch my career? I am like an old person now. I don't want to do that. I like my job. I'm good at it. I don't want to switch, but I also like, what if I hate it and I can't do it? And then I had like, you know, really good kids and really good classes and a bunch of like students are really excited. And so I was like excited that I didn't hate my job already 3 days in. And so like Brandon texted and asked if I wanted to go to dinner with him and his family. And I said, no, I think. And then asked if I wanted to dive, like do heck divers. And I was like, yeah. And I started crying. Like, getting ready to like heck dive because I just like was so emotional. So it's a roller coaster already, but I didn't cry at all this week. So even even with how broken the AC was, I was fine.
I have a funny work crying story.
Let's do it.
We're not gonna. This is not the. We're not getting the tattoos today. No, I'll save my work crying story for another day.
You're gonna remember it?
If a user sends in a question, if a listener and they're like, "Tell us the work crying story," we'll save it for the
for the user questions.
User question.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what Kelly's gonna do with my weekly check-in.
Who knows? I don't ever know until I get there.
Just cut them out. Here. I'll do this. Ready? You know what, guys? I vote we skip the user questions and go straight into tattoos today. Should we do that? I mean, not user question. Dang it. Hold on. Let me try.
Right? Ready and scene.
Okay, guys. Let's just skip the weekly update. I know Mom loves it, but I'm really excited to talk about tattoos.
Yeah, screw Mom.
We gotta do that again. From the top. But we can get into the tattooist now.
All right.
So I hired a tattooist. He's gonna come today and record.
We're gonna do tattoos.
Dang.
Just kidding. I don't have that kind of money.
Big purple dinosaur on my face.
All right. So, speaking of rabbit holes, again, I started doing research, and I was like, this is another Caravaggio moment where I was like, to really understand Yakuza tattoos, you have to understand
Feudal Japan.
Yeah, kinda.
Oh, dear.
So far back.
Don't worry, I go further back. You have to understand.
Because we've got to start with Utzi's tattoos and work our way.
That's what last episode was about, really. It was the precursor to episode one. It was the tattoo prequel.
Part negative one.
Yeah. Okay.
But legitimately, when I started doing a bunch of research, Utsi was mentioned multiple times, and I was like, I'm going far enough back, I think. So we're gonna start, and I tried to make this as brief as possible. So the Jomon era, which is 14,000 to 300 BC.
14,000?
14,000 to 300 BC.
I don't think there was
a big era.
Culture.
Yeah, no, they don't really have much of it.
Okay.
But in books and in documentaries and everything, they always mention these little guys. And because it's pottery, I wanted to. Okay. So it's hard, like you said, it's hard to find solid evidence of tattooing from that time so far back. And the main reason is because the Japanese culture does not have mummification. And so they don't have any preserved mummies that they could look at to see if they had tattoos. However, they did find little pottery faces. And on these little faces, there's decoration on the face that some researchers say could be representative of tattoos. Especially because if you fast forward to a lot of the like native tribes that are sort of spread out through Japan, they also have facial tattoos. And so they're like, it's not insane to reach that far back and say maybe this was facial tattoos. However, because it is just these little ceramic faces, and they have like, you know, it looks like a unibrow or like sometimes little marks on their cheeks or around their lips and that kind of stuff, that they can't definitively say it isn't like decoration or maybe it's just like the artist decorating it, or maybe it represented other things or makeup even. And since, you know, a lot of the paint or coloring that would have been on the pottery at that time is probably gone, maybe that's all that remained. So it's hard to say, but it's worth mentioning because it was mentioned everywhere I looked for information on this.
Interesting.
So then we go to the Yayoi era, which is 300 BC to 300 AD.
Okay.
Also, I took a lot of this information comes from this really excellent book that I got, and I'm not done with it, but it is fantastic. It's called, let me tell you, Tattoos as Punishment, An Illustrated History of Tattooing in Japan, and it's by Eric Shahan. But it's more, like I say, it's a fascinating book, but you have to prepare yourself that it's much more like a history.
Like pretty dry.
Yeah. It's not like, it's like if you took a class in college. What are those called? Textbooks. So it's dry. It's just facts, which is what I was looking for anyway. So I thought it was fantastic. And the history is interesting enough that I didn't need any Flav to spice it up for me. Anyways, he also uses excerpts from like ancient documents that I'm going to read a few because like it's really interesting to read because these are some really ancient documents. Like, 300 AD is sort of old. So if you're interested on reading more, because again, I am really bare bonesing a lot of this information to get to just the information that is sort of pertinent to the end goal of Yakuza tattoos. But if you want, that book is fantastic and covers a lot of what I'm going to talk about. Anyways, this is the first time in this Yayoi era is the first reference to Japan and Japanese tattooings. And it's from a Chinese historical record. So the book is called the Book of the Latter Han. So the Book of the Latter Han. It's edited by Fan Yi, and this is in 398 to 445, specifically mentioning Japanese tattooing, and is discussing a period of time between 25 to 220 AD. So real early AD time. So he says, the local people use spears, shields, and wooden bows as weapons. They may also use bones as arrowheads. All men have tattoos on their face and the body. They distinguish rank through the size and location of the tattoo they wore. So already they... so like with all of these, it's saying a time frame. Like this is the first time that we haven't mentioned, but already we can see that there is a clear history of tattoo, enough to like that they're distinguishing rank with their tattooing purposes, right? Excuse me. And then there's another mention of Japanese tattoos concerning the period of 1884 to 280 AD. And this comes from an excerpt from the Records of Wei, which is from a larger historical record called the Records of the Three Kingdoms. And it says, men of all social rank tattooed their faces and bodies with designs. Even in days long past, and envoys from Japan who visited the Chinese court referred to themselves as men of high standing. The son of Xiao Kang, the sixth king of the Z dynasty, is it XIA? Is that said Z? Or how's that? Shi of the Shi dynasty, cut his hair and decorated his body with designs in order to protect himself from attacks by serpents and dragons. When he was crowned Lord of Kuai-ji, the Japanese, who are known to dive into the ocean to harvest various kinds of fish and shellfish, also tattoo their bodies. Originally, this was done in order to protect against sharks and predatory waterfowl. However, this tradition has evolved into tattooing as body decoration. Depending on the region, the tattooing can be on the left side or right, be very large or very small. So, again, it describes a type of tattoos, but also an evolution of tattooing. So it's pretty ingrained in there, and it's used mostly as protection and then decoration.
Do you guys ever think about how advanced Chinese culture was? Like, this was thousands of years ago. They had historians, right? Mm-hmm. So this is going to be a small tangent into Chinese history, of which I'm not at all an expert. But after I read... The Three Body Problem. Did you ever read those? No,
but I've heard the name of the book.
Yeah.
I watched the Netflix.
Was it good?
I liked it. I thought it was interesting. I don't think that it came to a conclusion.
There's 3 books, so they're probably making multiple seasons.
I wonder if they'll make more. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah. That makes sense. The book was a little weird. It was good. It was really good. Very interesting sci-fi. Although there were some things that I absolutely hated. But if you want that, you can read my blog post about it. I'm not going to get into it here.
Okay.
But I got interested because a big part of it is about the revolution, like the communist revolution or socialist revolution in China. And so many people died and so many horrendous things happened. And I was like, this is... so nuts that like millions of people died and I don't know anything about it, right? Like we just don't learn about it in school. And I work with some Chinese people, so I went to one of my coworkers and I was like, hey, if I wanted to like get a grasp of Chinese history, is there like a book that you would recommend? And she was like, oh yeah, read The Record of the Great Historian, like one of these books.
Yeah, one of these books.
Like written by an ancient Chinese person. And I was like, sweet. So I bought it and I was like, this was really written by a Chinese dude 2,000 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I was expecting like a,
Like a modern historian.
Yeah, like a modern book that's like Chinese history for the idiot American. Like, and I was just like, this is insane. So yeah, it's wild that like we're trying to study about, for Japanese people, what is prehistory. Mm-hmm. And there were just Chinese people walking around taking notes.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's so nuts.
It's so wild. But, and like, I had to tell myself, like, remember, they're the ones writing it, so you have to, you know, take information. So they have their
prejudices.
Yeah, you have to take information with a grain of salt. But it is also, like, so nice to be able to have additional viewpoints of, like, hey, they did have this tradition this far back. And there's other times where, like, some Japanese records corroborate some of the Chinese records. So you know that there's some like veracity to things that they're saying. So, you know, there's always prejudices in people's writing, but to have any information is like, it's cool that we have that. Yeah. So far back.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, they said that, and then several scholars, and this seems to be supported by this expert, suggest that most early Japanese primarily used it for, like we said, protection. In additional texts, we get more description of the tattoos themselves, which is what I kind of wanted. And it says, also in these ancient writings, the Japanese were referred to as wa, just so you know. So if I use the word wa in these Chinese texts, I think it only comes up in this quote, but they're talking about the Japanese at that time. The Book of Liang, and this is speaking of around 502 to 557 AD. It says, over their body, they have tattoos depicting wild beasts. They have 3 tattooed marks on their foreheads. The marks are straight for noble people and are small for lowly people. The people like music, but are not very generous in spirit of their affluence and do not give anything to strangers. They have houses, but no castles. The place in which their king resides is decorated with gold and silver in a manner of rare beauty. This is the wild part to me. This is why I included this. The buildings are surrounded by a ditch, about 1 chi, I don't know what 1 chi is, in width, which they fill with quicksilver. That's mercury. Where there is rain, it flows on top of the quicksilver. So they have many rare things in their markets. Those who are guilty of a light offense are immediately punished with whips. They use whips, but for crimes deserving of capital punishment, they throw the offender to fierce wild animals to be eaten alive. If the person is innocent, the beast will avoid him, and if he remains unharmed overnight, he will be pardoned. Crimes can also be redeemed through imprisonment without food. Which I just thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
All interesting. Also, where are all these ancient people getting all of this mercury? Like, that's what's... Like, they had a ditch with a like moat of mercury around their king's castle, which had to be good for him. Yeah. But also the emperor of China that built the terracotta warriors, he was really concerned about dying. And so the like medicinal guys at the time prescribed mercury. And so he started taking mercury, which made him go crazy. So he died pretty quick. But after that,
irony.
I know. But part of his his described tomb complex was rivers of mercury, which they haven't found. But it's described that within it had rivers of mercury. And so then here's another like ancient reference to just like gobs of mercury. Where are they getting it all, and why?
That's a good question.
Anyways, nobody has answers, but that's just a thought I had. So, okay. And then also, really quickly, in the Book of Sui, talking about, and this is in 636 AD, it simply states, both men and women have numerous tattoos from elbow to the upper arm and tattooed markings on their faces. So, it just is a moment where we get to see that it's something that is common. It's common among men and women. So... and then we finally get some early Japanese texts. So now we're starting to get information from early Japanese texts, not just Chinese information. So from 713, we have Kojiki, or Record of Ancient Matters, is what the book is called. So this is our first Japanese historical record that refers to tattoos. It also talks about myths and legends in the same book. So it sort of has like a lot of kind of storytelling elements to it. And the story that mentions the tattoos takes place in 660 BC. So we're now in the BC era.
Okay. So they wrote it way after, but then they said this happened 1,000 years ago.
Yeah. Exactly. So the story, which is very quick, goes, one day, 7 girls came to play in the field around Takasajino. Amongst them was a girl named Isuke Yorihime. Okume saw her and asked the emperor in song, Lord of Yamato, born in Takasajino, 7 girls have appeared before you. Which of them does my lord choose? A girl by the name of Izuke Yorihime was standing nearest of the group. The emperor saw the girl because she was standing closest and answered Okume in song, the one standing closest to me has already captured my heart. They all, of course, are very beautiful. Hearing the lord's response, Okume went over to the girl and extended an invitation from the emperor. Isuke Yorihime looked at Okume and was startled by his unusual appearance. He had tattoos around his eyes that made him look sharp and quite avian in appearance. She sang, May I ask why you have sharply defined eyes like those of the fork-tailed swift, oriental cuckoo, plover, and quail? Okume answered her in song, I thought I might be better able to find you and meet you if I had large, sharp eyes. So it's like tattoos that go around the eyes and then extend towards the top of your ears, essentially. Which I was like, that's precious. What a precious little story. Also, I don't know why she had to give 4 examples of birds or whatever.
She just wanted him to know that she knows birds, okay?
She knows, yeah.
She's like, I bring more to this relationship than a pretty face.
Yeah.
Ornithology.
I'm more than just looks.
That's what I'm about.
Was it a musical? They like sang it.
No. Not, I mean,
that's just how Japanese people talked back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't say anything about, that's just like how they responded. I don't know.
Wouldn't that be wild if musicals were historically accurate? Like, this is just how people used to be.
And then we got boring.
So long ago that we don't remember it.
It was just written as regular dialogue, but everybody sang it.
Yeah. That would be funny.
So this style.
I also, okay, here's the other thing about this story that I love. He's like, I got these tattoos so I could see really far to the one nearest me.
Yeah. Exactly. It's so true. So this style of tattooing is called sakaratome, or tattooing to sharpen the eyes, or sharp slit to the eyes. It depends on how the kanji is written. It immediately, and this is like my nerd showing, it immediately made me think of that Naruto character and then here's what it is. I was like, it's that Naruto guy that has the purple tattoos all over his face. And then I Googled it, and there's like 15 with tattoos all over their face. So I wasted time of my research time searching to find who it was that I was thinking of, and I was like, okay, I gotta narrow the search. The guy's from the Sand Village, and they're like, okay, it's maybe one of these. Anyways, it was Kankuro.
Whatever. Yeah, the puppet guy.
Yeah, the puppet guy, Kankuro. But and then I pulled up a picture of him, and I was like, I was wrong anyways. He doesn't have the sharp eyes. He just has tattoos on his face. And I actually don't even know if it's tattoos. I haven't paid enough attention to Kankuro to know if it's just paint. Does he ever not have it, or does he always have it?
I don't think I've ever seen him without it.
But he does have it around his mouth. And there is the like Ainu tribe, I think. I'd have to double check the name. But one of these ancient tribes that we're not actually going to spend much time talking about, because it is, I'll tell you in a minute. But they tattooed around their lips, but it was the women that did it, not men. Anyways, so that was a little bit of a tangent for that. But moving on. In additional text, so this is all Japanese texts. An additional text, it's called Nihon Shoki, and this is referring to 97 AD. And it states, in the eastern wilds, there is a country called Hitakami, the people of this country. I don't know why it's written that way, but both men and women tie up their hair in the form of a mallet and tattoo their bodies. They are of a fierce temper, and their general's name is Yamishi. Moreover, their land is wide and fertile. We should attack them and take it. That's what the stuff says.
Was that from the Japanese?
Japanese,
okay.
Yeah. So what we start seeing is the like Japanese. Actually, I'll read this next quote. I think it kind of gives the flavor of what I'm trying to say. The writer also explained, thus it can be seen that the true Japanese people, the descendants of the gods, those that immigrated from the Chinese and Mongolian lands, did not engage in tattooing. In fact, tattooing the face and tattooing lettering on the body was anathema? Mm-hmm. Okay, anathema to them, which is just like they've been vehemently hated it. Yeah, I had to Google that word.
He uses face paint. Just FYI.
Okay, well, I was double wrong.
I'm glad we spent time to just prove her wrong.
I want the facts.
Anybody anyway.
I wasn't sure, and so I appreciate that. I would prefer you point it out than me walk around being like, "Is tattoo face?"
I just didn't want the Naruto fans that listen to our podcast to crucify us.
Yeah,
that's true.
They'll flip tables.
You don't want to.
They'll come running at us.
The wrong side. The Naruto run. Kelly just did the Naruto run.
So anyways, with this kind of quote, we sort of see that there is a divergence between the like outlying sort of more like quote unquote wild sort of tribes on the edges versus what the like Japanese considered like true Japanese culture.
Which was from China?
From China and Mongolian lands. Is what it says.
There were native Japanese peoples.
Like people living on the lands already.
But the people that considered themselves Japanese were from China and Mongolia.
Like it's a complex thing that I can't possibly understand. So I imagine that was probably not an uncommon
occurrence in
history. Yeah,
that makes sense.
So that's what the Japanese historians write. So this is when we sort of see connotations where tattooing is viewed negatively, is almost a distinguishing between people that felt that they were the true Japanese culture and then people that were these considered like less educated, kind of lower class Japanese citizens.
Yeah.
So again, in the book Nihon Shoki, this is the first time that we have tattooed referred to as an actual form of punishment. So, and this is in 399 AD. So, they've had tattooing for thousands of years, but this is, and I felt like this is important to talk about partially because I feel like when we think, or like when, like in layman's terms almost, when we think of tattooing in Japan, we're like, oh yeah, it was used as a form of punishment, but it was such a small portion of the history of Japanese tattooing that I wanted to make sure we understood the depth and richness of that whole culture, of the idea of tattooing. So in 399 AD, a man named Azumi no Hamako supported an insurrection that was led by Prince Sumino no Nakatsu. In the writing, his sentence was death because he supported this insurrection. Like the emperor, sentenced him to death. But in that same story, the emperor admitted owing this man a debt. So he commuted down the sentence to facial tattooing instead. But the historians, they kind of speculated that this story was more like circulated propaganda. I said propaganda, weird. More like circulated propaganda against facial tattoos to sort of reinforce the cultural difference. Yeah. Kind of thing. And most likely, Azumi wasn't actually even punished at all. That it was just kind of made an example to further distinguish this difference. In other passages, it continues to recount stories of disdain for tattoos. It also shows that it appears many of the people involved with raising animals had facial tattoos, and they believed it possible that the tattoos may have been like talismans against injury from animals. But in these writings, the emperor writes, or the historian writes about the emperor's clear disdain for these traditional animal handler tattoos. And so sort of in tandem with this, during this time, this division of societies became more solidified. So people that worked with animals, they seemed to have like lower class status and that remained at that lower social level. And so that became more tied with their tattoos. And in other additional records, it shows that people were punished, like higher class people could be punished by being relegated to this lower class status. And a way to do that was by giving them the same style of facial tattoos.
What did the tattoos say?
So there was a big range of different tattoos. Like some of them, like they were talking about, were they had like, animal shapes or different kind of markings and that kind of stuff that were like the people that dove had big ones all over their body. The tribes that dove in the water.
That, yeah.
And they're actually like they that is a tribe that is still functioning, I think. But those were like big and all over their body, and it was usually like more designs than like pictures because it was meant to like ward off like sharks and stuff like that. Some of the tattoos that were used as punishment, and I am not 1,000% sure on the like exact dates or like how they functioned with it. But in this early time, they would put, I know that in one report they talked about they would put markings, and the more punishments you did, the more markings they would put. And eventually it spelled out the kanji for dog on their face. And others, I think, were like lines. I mean, in the Edo period is when I have really good documentation of what they actually did.
Yeah.
It's more they just say facial tattoos, and they don't have a lot of solid examples for this really, really early, like 400 AD stuff.
So in the beginning, it was, animal handlers had tattoos to ward off injury.
Yeah.
And so if you had some highfalutin, high-class society person that angered the emperor, he would put those tattoos on him and then be like, now just go walk around and see how people treat you animal handlers, you know?
Like
and everyone
lower
would be
class.
like, oh, look at that dummy. And he'd be like, I'm a fancy guy, actually. And they'd be like, no, you're not.
Look at your tattoos.
You got the tattoos. Come over here and help me
Yeah.
with this hog.
Yeah, exactly. And it like, I mean, it's kind of boiled down. That's a lot of what seemed to be happening. And they said after about 670, people were grouped into family registers instead of vocationally. So instead of being like, these people worked with the hogs and have this style of tattoo, they'd be like, here's this name that goes along with this group of people. Though that didn't do away with like the class social system. It just changed it.
Yeah.
There's a bit of an overview on how some of the punishments were done. It does not describe the style of tattoo in here, but I thought this was interesting. The Swada Busho overviews just a little bit about how that's done. So it's called geiki, or tattooing the face as punishment. Was originally they would carve into the forehead with a knife and then rub black soil. This later evolved into rubbing ink into the cuts. However, both of these are considered tattooing. And a lot of the stuff that I've read about in these like early tattoos, even the ones where these tribes have this tradition of, tattooing around the women's mouths, it's all done with like razor blades and cutting, not like needle pokes. So a lot of it is like they're cutting into the skin and then rubbing ash or created dyes into those wounds.
That seems so much worse.
Yeah, it made me go, ugh.
It's probably faster.
True.
They did talk about how, like, I read an interview from one of the ladies from the tribe that had her face tattooed, and she talked about how if you had a good tattooer, and the cuts were done like clean and efficiently, then like you could start like eating and stuff again within 3 days, but most of the time they couldn't eat for like a week. Anyways, so in China, prior to the establishment of legalized reforms proposed by Li Qi, I don't know, QUI.
Leaky.
Wow.
Leaky. Facial tattoos is
Listen,
punishment.
we're gonna get so many wrong.
Yeah.
Then
Just,
so
I'm
very
real
wrong.
sorry.
So just go nuts.
Yeah, I'm real sorry, everyone of every culture, all over everywhere. Facial tattoos is punishment.
We've gotten English names wrong before,
Yeah.
so I don't know what you're expecting.
Yeah, I was reading. So I don't read students' names out loud anymore because I can't ever get them right. But like Utah spellings of name, it's unfair. Like I'm set up for failure.
Mm-hmm.
But one, I read it and I was all, Ike? And Pretty looked at me and she goes, Ike. It's and I was like, I give up. Anyways, so tattoos as punishment were common in Japan during the first year. So this is 504 AD of the reign of the Emperor Richu. And Richu had a lot of documentation about how this emperor in particular hated tattooing. And so he was the main one that instigated tattoos as punishment. This is something that while the morning of the death of the Navy and military actions led by Azimo, so that guy, the military guy from before, Richu established a law whereby criminals would have their faces tattooed and for the next 250 years. So criminals would have their faces tattooed with the advent of the Taika reform until the advent of the Taika reform in 645. The Japanese government copied the Tang penal code of tattooing. So they kind of abolished that punishment. However, the advent of the Tokugawa shogunate in the early 1600s brought back tattooing as punishment. So it just sort of like ebbed and flowed a little bit. That's sort of like a broad overview of it. So, but basically for about 1,000 years from 590, for however long, from 592 to around the 1600s, there's no documentation of tattooing pretty much at all. And so the Japanese historians sort of believe that it was not practiced much during that 1,000 years. However, there are some outliers. So there are records of monks that tattooed themselves with holy symbols or depictions of holy figures. Additionally, other outliers were the Ainu tribe. Okay, so I was right. It's pronounced Ainu. The Ainu in the north and the Ryukyu, which is now Okinawa Islands in the south, as well as the Hayato. Otherwise, Japanese researchers tend to place them, again, outside of Japanese cultures, so they don't count those.
Yeah. Outside of mainstream Japanese culture.
Yeah, outside of
because there's still Japanese culture.
Yeah, but it's outside of like the main, under the emperor kind of guy. But the next time that we hear about Japanese tattooing is a story about a military maneuver by a samurai. I literally was like, Josh knows so many obscure things. I wonder if he knows about this. So this was a maneuver by samurai where to protect I'll tell you what the maneuver is called. It's called the Shimazu escape. Have you heard of it?
No.
It doesn't feel like it should be a maneuver, but maybe that's just me.
What are you, a tank commander?
Anyways, so it's a maneuver where the samurai were outnumbered hugely. It was like 20,000 against 90,000. And so to protect their retreating force of around 20,000 men, the 500 samurai were left behind to fight to the death to slow the advancing army so the other people could retreat. And those 500 samurai were able to hold back the army long enough that they could escape. So it was the Shimazu
So it's like
escape.
the movie 300, but with samurai.
And 500 of them.
60% more people.
Yeah.
60% more abs.
Yeah. Zack Snyder is so excited.
This is...
I can't believe he has not thought of the sequel to 300 being 500.
500,
yeah.
It's just-
Do this film.
You know why he hasn't? Because they wore clothes.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And he was like, without those glistening abs, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
But he could recreate it, but just take some historical liberties. They tattooed instead of clothes.
Yeah.
Well, here it comes.
That tattooed breastplate, tattooed abs on there.
So when the attacking army was looking over the fallen samurai. All 500 of them, apparently, had tattoos on their upper arms that said on February 7th, and then their name was cut down in battle. My question is, did they have enough time to all get this tattoo before the advancing army got them? Or did they weirdly have this tattoo before they went in? And they're like, I guess it's me. I'm part of the 500.
I never understood
This tattoo.
why I got this tattoo.
I would love the general who is formulating this. He's like, hey, would you tattoo these guys with this thing? And they're like, what does this mean? He's like, trust me, it's just a tattoo. It's not a big deal.
No,
Isn't that tomorrow?
No. It's next year's February 7th. Or 10 years from now.
like 100 years.
And then he's got all these other people. He's like, okay, bring in the rest. And it's like, I survived February 7th. And they're like, why don't we get that tattoo? He's like, just don't worry about it. I have a special project for you tomorrow. It's not related
It's not
to the
related.
tattoo.
So yeah. That is kind of our first like resurfacing of tattooing in around the 1600s. So I think the battle was like 1580 something, but it was written about afterwards.
Yeah.
So the next like real reemergence of tattoos in Japan was what was called irebukuro, which is known as engraving moles. This is so precious. Okay. So basically you get a dot on your hand at the tip of the thumb where your lover's hand rests when you guys hold hands, and vice versa. So it's like a secret little tattoo, just tiny, that marks where, when you hold hands, where the thumb rests on each other's hands, so you have this like mark of love. And so that became sort of the theme of the next resurgence of tattooing, was these like marks of love.
It's kind of adorable.
Isn't it? It gets spicy pretty quick.
Oh no.
So we start seeing tattooed referred to in literature, and the name of the book was The Great Mirror of the Erotic Way. There's also one about like man love, and where it talks about like homosexuality and their tattooing, and but primarily this type of tattooing was done by like courtesans and brothel ladies. And you can see it in like the ukiyo-e art. There is a ton of it. Sorry. Ukiyo-e art is also one of my absolute favorite art styles. I love Art Nouveau. It's fantastic. I don't know why I have to defend Art Nouveau for you guys. You don't even know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
Art
Nouveau is like the animated Batman.
Really?
That's Art Deco.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Art Nouveau is like, it's just the worst.
Brandon should
She's
definitely
so terrible.
know.
Art Nouveau. Brandon should definitely know. Kind of like how I knew there was an album that came out.
It's French. Art Nouveau.
Okay.
And it's Alphonse Mucha. Like all of the metros in Paris and have that Art Nouveau styling. Like the metal is done. The metro entrances have.
Is this like The Rocketeer?
No,
that's Art Deco again. Dang it, we made the same mistake. Yes. We're both idiots.
The big poster that's in my kitchen that says like chocolat.
The one about the...
That's Art Nouveau.
Okay.
Where it's like very...
The wine bottles.
Chocolate.
Chocolate bottles. The chocolate bottles.
But it's
Wasn't it on wine bottles?
It's on chocolate in my kitchen.
I know, but I'm saying in general,
there,
wasn't that a thing?
It was more known for being in advertisements, especially for like the opera or like stuff like that.
I'm gonna stop talking. I'm just digging myself further and further. Wasn't that like where all of the clocks were like drippy? Wasn't that Art Nouveau?
Surrealism.
And they were like
Dolly.
You're
hanging over.
You're doing it on purpose.
Anyways.
Hold on, wasn't it when there was really dark shadows and then lighter parts and there was this contrast that was amazing?
Sometimes I want to just have shiny things and I want to be like click 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 just shiny things and just like give it to you.
Hold on, don't tell me. It wasn't Art Nouveau when everything was made of squares and triangles.
So close.
You're the greatest.
Brandon has seen me descend into this, and he's just like, I'm just gonna play a game on my phone. Like, he'll be done in 20 minutes.
Anyways,
hold on. Isn't Art Nouveau when they make creatures out of clay and then they use pictures of them to make it look like they're moving?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I knew I was gonna
You
get
wore
it.
her down, and there it is. You're right.
Booyah!
So, anyways, ukiyo-e art, which is what we're actually talking about,
Yeah.
is...
Hold on. Should I start guessing what ukiyo-e art is?
You're gonna nail it first try.
All
Whatever
right.
you say will be correct.
It is that when they have the spiky hair that goes up when they get super powered.
Yeah. The famous Goku
Yes.
senpai.
Goku from
Yeah.
Ukiyo-e.
Ukiyo-e art is, I mean, it's that when we think of like, it's one of the most internationally like known and understood of Japanese style art. So I think if you think of Japanese style art, you're probably thinking of ukiyo-e art.
Okay.
And it's often in like woodblock prints or
Is the wave.
The wave is an ukiyo-e, yeah.
All right.
Also,
said that.
the
I'm really criticizing you now. I'm like, listen, why didn't you just say that wave?
cut to the chase. Also, the other one that I have in my living room, the triptych, the
With
witch
the-
Takayashi, and
Isn't triptych where you're afraid of strawberries?
No. It's a 3-panel painting that's meant to be seen in 3 separate panels.
You know what I'm talking about?
No. I don't.
I think it's tryptophobia or something.
Is
Isn't
that full? That's the fear of holes, right?
Yeah.
Over strawberries.
Because they have little seeds that look like little tiny holes. And if you look at them from the wrong angle, you go, ah! And then you throw it away. Got a strawberry again. No!
Are you sure you got sleep last night?
My goodness.
For the first time all week. But I am like
Still
40
very...
hours short for the
Yeah.
week, so...
So you're still behind.
All right.
Anyways,
so
the whole
as
point
we
of
were
that
saying-
was there's a lot of ukiyo-e art depicting these like brothel ladies and kind of erotic scenes with where the tattoos are revealed and that kind of stuff.
Oh, right. It's called
Tramp
Fisherman's Wife. Do you know what I'm talking about? With Fisherman's Wife? It's Japanese. It's a piece of old Japanese pornography of a woman getting it on with an octopus.
No.
You don't know this?
No.
Wait, there
What
was
kind of
hentai
uki-
porn in the
Hentai.
ancient.
Say it right.
I'm sorry. What is it?
Yeah,
Hentai.
if you're a connoisseur, you know
What
how
did
to
I-
say the word.
Yeah, hentai.
Hentai.
This whole thing is gonna get.
So, a lot of courtesans would carve their like best clients' names into their arms in like a sort of coded way, which was often like a pun based on their name. And then again, it was primarily brothel women, but there are cases of other people doing it. And then this started to really kind of pick up steam. And then and I loved this because like a person at this time wrote this, and I was like, humans don't change. He wrote, amongst the younger crowd, there is an unnecessary tattooing of the flesh. And I was like, he was so mad about it. I was like, yeah, that's old people say that about young people still.
It's true.
So by 1624-ish, it sort of became that tattooing was seen as this sort of method to create strong bonds or to show strong bonds of love between two people. And it was a means of demonstrating that or guaranteeing eternal love. So with this like kind of surge of tattoos that are related to undying love and that whole thing, it sort of comes with the second half of the tattoo aspect, which was removing those tattoos. So they found that they also needed to figure out ways to remove tattoos. So
they had to invent the laser first?
Yeah. So it took a little bit. No, they had so it actually gets talked about in there's like depictions of it in other ukiyo-e art and other like poetry. So there's one where there is an art, like a print of a woman, and it has included in it a poem. I'm going to read it to you. It says, "It occurs to me, with the incense burning, to set out a candle. Tattoos also burn, and I can scorch off my small tattoo." So it's just like common enough, but it sort of gives you a hint on how they're handling it. So at this time, there was only 2 ways to get rid of tattoos, and this was moxibustion, which is essentially using smoldering sticks of mugwort, which is a type of herb, and they just burn away the tattoo.
How did they find that out? Like,
It was Chinese medicine.
they have 400 different herbs, and they're like, hold on, can I press this flaming herb to your skin? No, the tattoo's still there. Okay, hold on. Next one. And if they're going through alphabetically, mugwort is way down the list.
Yeah.
Maybe
And that's the only reason why it worked.
in the Chinese or Japanese language, mugwort is alphabetically sooner.
Maybe. I finally got you to engage with one of my stupid things. Yes!
Trap laid. And set. But I Googled this because I didn't know what moxibustion was. And they're like, also in the internet, like every time I read it, they're like, there is no medical evidence that this will actually get rid of your tattoo. It just burns you. So like, this is not a method of getting rid of a tattoo safely. The other way was burning a candle and burning your skin. That's kind of what they did.
Just with the flame?
Yeah. So
I suppose that makes sense. If you want a hideous scar instead of a hideous tattoo.
yeah, those are your options. So during this Edo period, 1603 to 1863, is sort of the meat of when we think of Japanese tattooing as punishment. Japanese tattooing as punishment. We see it in like media references, in like books and movies, anime. So this is where we're going to stop today so that you guys all get excited for that next time.
Ooh.
What was the time period?
1603 to 1868.
They had anime then?
No, Brandon. We have anime now that references
The
Edo
Edo
style.
All right.
Ah, interesting.
Like, did you watch Demon Slayer at all?
A couple episodes.
There's one of the demons has a bunch of like bars tattooed around his arms, his forearms, and it's all in the style of Edo style Japanese punishment tattoos. So all of his, like, a bunch of that makes sense. Like, the demons often have tattoos that refer back to historical style of tattooing for punishment.
Interesting.
Which, if you learn about that, really deepens and enriches your Demon Slayer experience.
It's true.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, the more you know, the more you know.
Yeah. So there we go. That's part 1. And then next time, we'll see how far we get. Maybe it'll be Edo period, and then we can get straight into Yakuza, or I don't know. I have to do the research.
Okay.
So Ashwini, don't get too excited.
All right. So now the ending question for today is, what tattoo are you going to get?
Yeah, because our hired professional has been waiting in the living room this whole time.
I don't know.
A little tiny octopus. Give me a little kiss on the cheek.
I don't think that I would be okay with a face tattoo. If I was going to get a tattoo, probably there's something like over my heart or something like some kind of a sleeve.
Ooh, you're hardcore.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's more than I can commit to.
It's just one arm.
When you do like a character creator in a game, I suppose you don't do games that have like really in-depth character creators that much.
Not often. No tattoos.
No tattoo. You always would skip tattoos.
Usually tattoos and scars are in the same like field or whatever, and I'll put like a scar across their eye.
Yeah. I always...
Nature's tattoo.
That's true. Just rub some ink in it.
Yeah.
Right after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try that next time I cut my finger off or whatever. Like, I almost cut my finger off. I'm gonna be like, quick, break this pen open and dump it in there. And we'll see if it makes a rad tattoo.
And then you get taken to the doctor and they're like, it's super infected.
Or is it? Yeah, it's sick. Super sick. I always do asymmetrical face tattoos when I'm doing character creators. Mm-hmm. So me and Mike Tyson, man, we got the same fashion sense.
I think if I was ever to get a tattoo, it would be very small.
Yeah.
And it would be like, very innocuous in its design. I don't think I could commit. I feel like if I had to commit, I would go somewhere in the Art Nouveau or ukiyo-e style, but it would still have to be just so small because I think I would rather just draw on myself and then wash it off because I change.
Yeah. I could do a little dot where Michaela's
Yeah, the
finger
cute little
rests.
mole.
Yeah,
the
I
cute
could do the
mole
dot.
one. Yeah.
That's
safe
all
one.
that I can commit to.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. And I find this so interesting. So hopefully you guys find it interesting. It has crime and it has art, but it's not like one
I thought
crime.
it was so boring.
Yeah, I could tell.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm not coming for part 2.
But yeah, hopefully you guys come back for part 2, including Josh.
I'm going to send an octopus to my place.
Jeez.
But yeah, stay tuned. Come back, do some art, don't do any crime, and bye.
See ya.
Later, playa.
I don't know anything about anything. Gotta go do art. That's what I said.